So, as said, this is how I do it. It's up to you how you go about it yourself. But starting out, I like to get onto a project and I go through and I review the project scope and all the background information I can get my hands on. Don't get me wrong, I don't read it from cover to cover or anything else, but I like to see what's around, so then that way I can get a grasp on how much information the client's already put together that we can use and where we're starting from. Then I go through and I do a draft weightings assessment. I go through and fill it out on my own because then that way I can get an idea as to how outcomes are going to be distributed across the scorecard. Then, leading on to the scorecard, I go through and I do a business as usual score. Just a quick thumb suck. This whole thing takes me a good afternoon to do, to be honest, but a quick thumb suck of the business as usual score and a thumb suck of the low-hanging fruit score, which is basically anything that you can add quite easily. It's not going to cost a lot more money to do, but it will further strengthen the processes and therefore achieve better sustainable outcomes. Then I go through and do the good old added dollars and a lot of luck. It's the stretch target score. It is the score that you should aim to try and achieve on each credit, but knowing full well that you're probably not going to achieve it on all. But if you try out on everything, on as many of as possible, you're more likely to have a few wins than only try on a few and then find that you fall down on those later and it's too late to start on any others. Then I go over and I bring in internal management in. I try and get these 6 people in the room, or a variety of people, but they are generally the people that have the control over how this tool can be implemented. They don't necessarily need to know the ins and outs of the tool exactly, but they're the ones that get to decide whether or not something from the IS tool can be brought into a process and if it's relevant for their aspect of work. We go through the draft weightings assessment and the draft scorecard to get the likely outcomes and to see whether or not my own thought process was anything like what they're also thinking. But ultimately, the purpose of that is to get their buy-in. Without their buy-in and their support, you're not going to be able to do much at all because they're the ones ultimately that are in charge.